Hey sports fans, it's Christian Pedersen here with San Diego Prep Insider, back with another episode. This time we're looking at 5 things that we're already watching for early on. Well, I guess it's preseason, but early on plot lines that we're looking for in Division II CIF San Diego high school football. Let's take full screen here and show you the lay of the land. Here are the teams in Division II football this year. Oceanside, Grossmont, Granite Hills, and San Marcos all moving down from Division I. Ramona, Santa Fe Christian, Mount Carmel, and Brawley all moving up from Division III. That's your division race, so let's cut to it with the first thing that I am looking at this season in Division II football. And again, this is not a full division preview. These are just 5 little tidbits to kind of wet your morsels now that the pads are on, and we're talking about some... this is not hypothetical anymore. This is real football we're talking about. Mira Mesa is the number one thing that I am looking at, and that's because of strength of schedule. The Marauders have had this goal the last maybe 5 years, it seems, to play with the big boys. And looking at their schedule this season, they're opening with Helix. They've got Madison, who's another potential open division team. They've got Henry, who's a defending champion. I'm not going to predict wins or losses out of any of these, but when you have that kind of a strength of schedule that's not just entirely front-loaded, it's split up throughout the year, there's good points to check in and out with how Mira Mesa's team is doing. If you're a D2 team and you're losing to one or two of the open division schools this year, what are we talking about? That's a really good, if you're losing to them by a touchdown, by 10 points, that's a win, if you will, morally. So I'm watching Mira Mesa because their strength of schedule with that Helix game right out the gate is going to be a very interesting kind of set the bar moment. My number 2 thing that I'm looking at is the Oceanside Pirates. It is weird seeing them in Division II. Just looking at this, playing the one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Oceanside, historically one of the most successful high school programs in San Diego. Their schedule, though, this year is going to be kind of interesting. They've got Granite Hills and San Marcos on there, which are 2 of the other Division I programs down with them in Division II this year. Plus, though, they play Torrey Pines. They play San Marcos. They play Mission Hills. They play El Camino. They play LCC. They play similar talent to above talent. And this is one where Oceanside, we could be looking at wow, they're in D2 and they're, 6-4 or 5-5, but I think if you're going to watch for those games against Granite and against San Marcos, those will be the really telling things for how Oceanside could potentially do in the playoffs. So they could already be set up to be a dark horse this year as they're looking for a rebound year. I know that the Pirates want to get back to D1. They want to get back to that, traditional glory of Friday Night Lights like we have seen this program be capable of doing over the last 20, 30, 40 years. But it's going to be those games against San Marcos and Granite Hills that I think will really be the telling things that we are looking at out of the gate here. Another one that I want to highlight is the Bell game this year between Brawley and Central Union. That is a rivalry game that shuts down the town out there in the inland areas. It's now an in-division game. The last year it was split with Brawley down in Division III, Central in Division II. So that game is no longer just for pride. That game is now for playoff seeding. And Brawley and Central Union already have enough overlap amongst their schedule. They're going to have to play not just similar league opponents, but similar non-league opponents throughout the year. That Bell game, I know I said things that we're looking at early, but that's late in the season. But that Bell game could be a knock in or out of the playoffs, a home game or a road game type of thing, which that's amazing. I was saying this in a lower division with West Hills, Santana now being in the same division. This one's awesome. The fact that those 2 schools can circle that at the end of the season, that Brawley and Central Union could be playing in a rivalry game for a playoff spot or for their life in the playoffs is definitely one of the things that I'm watching. Number 4 that I am watching in Division II CIF San Diego high school football this year is the La Jolla Vikings. Of the 2 teams, Scripps Ranch and La Jolla, that were in this Division II championship game last year, Scripps moved on with Jax Leatherwood and company charging on to Division I. Congratulations to them. La Jolla is the returning finalist, if you will. A disjointed group kind of at the end with Jackson Stratton's health not being 100% in that championship game. We got a peek at the next generation of their offense. you know, we kind of out the gate got the feeling that Jax Leatherwood was going to win that game. He was on that night. He obviously went on to have an amazing year in general with Scripps Ranch Athletics. So I think maybe there's some doubt unnecessarily about La Jolla. When you have a program, win or lose, that can get to one finals, let alone a couple of finals over a sustained period like La Jolla has now gotten to, they know how to do it. Their coaches know how to do it. Their players know how to do it. Their culture knows how to do it. So not saying that La Jolla is the de facto team to beat, but if you look at their schedule, I think things line up nicely that they're returning players plus a favorable couple matchups out the gate. La Jolla is definitely going to be one of those litmus test teams to look at to kind of see where the bar is set for, a top 6 level strength for Division II football this year. Finally, the last thing, number 5 that I'm looking at, and again, this is not a full preview. We will have that coming up next week when it's scrimmage week. Colton Toll and I will have a full breakdown, and that is how the final number 5 thing is, how quickly can the San Diego High School Cavers get it together this year? We had them in studio, so shameless plug. You can bounce over and check out our interview with them. But new head coach, a lot of juniors and sophomores last year that took it in the teeth a little bit. Those kids, they got to rise to the occasion. It's not a question of if they can. We've seen the hints of the talent. We've seen some new things being organized. Coach says he's running the Nebraska offense from the late 80s, early 90s. I know he's joking with, keeping things kind of close to the vest. So, not going to say that X, Y, or Z player is who we are highlighting, saying they've got to grow up. But in general, when you've got that trial by fire that your team went through a year previous, you need to start in first, you need to start on one of those higher gears, really already going. So the San Diego Cavers, I'm watching them. We've highlighted players both offensively and defensively in our different videos this year that are, they're talented. They're players we want to watch. My question is, how quickly can they get cohesive? If they can do it game 1, game 2, game 3, they're set up to be in the driver's seat for a home game in the playoffs this year. If they falter a little bit, they're going to have to be a road darling. But either way, they are definitely one of the teams that I am focused on. That's just 5 things. Let us know what you guys want to hear later on when we get to our full preview, who you think we're sleeping on, who you think is going to blow up this year. Or just let us know who you want to have in studio. We're always down to talk to whoever, whenever, wherever. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of San Diego Prep Insider. We'll talk to you soon, sports fans.